Just bringing things online here.
Try a little bold.
Oh, don't need them bold.
One more button. Hold on.
Oh no, that's up and running. All right.
We're up and running.
Yeah.
All right, welcome everyone to the 034 Motorsport live chat, episode number
207.
207. I'm Javad Shadzi, and this is Nate Stewart. I'm also known as the short old guy. And
I think I was
Nate
called
was the older guy.
The older guy last week.
But
The
usually
older guy.
short and tall, but you know we do have names too. But you know, just don't call us late for dinner. We're going to answer all your questions about all things 034 Motorsport. We are deprioritizing update questions where you just want to know when something's going to be done or when something's going to be ready. We will answer it if we feel like we have something to say. But don't get mad or upset like we're ignoring you, because we are here to answer questions with real answers that we can actually contribute something productive to.
Is your can you guys check Instagram? Let's
let's make sure
it's completely frozen on my phone. So.
No, it works.
Is it
Perfect. It's just my phone. Okay.
So put your questions into the browser of your choice, and we will answer them in the order they were received.
And it's coming from multiple platforms, so chill out if you don't see us answering, or you see us answering other questions that you didn't see in your stream.
Yes. And can we put last week's questions for like in a separate section below? Yeah. That's what we used to do, and now we don't do it anymore for some reason, and I don't know why. All right, someone says, I was drag racing my C7 A6 this weekend, 3,000 foot DA, set a new personal best at 10.67 at 131, running your software. Very great to hear.
Okay.
That's fast. Cheers. YouTube video coming next week.
That's awesome.
Awesome, man. Oh, that's on a Magnuson setup?
Yep.
Sweet. Okay. I'm glad to hear the tuning's working so well for that. What's next for B9 TTE810 ECU, TCU, and any hardware updates? Yeah, we have a TCU tune update coming soon.
Yep. We've got beta guys rolling with it right now.
Mm-hmm. Rolling AMAX.
That is one of them.
Yes.
That is part of the update.
As well as just general updates and bug fixes and things like that.
Yeah, so you'll see a lot more options coming too for those files. We're going to have a number of different, I guess, driving selections. You can do rolling AMAX, you can do secondary launch enabled, different shift strategies. So yeah, there's a whole pile of updates coming.
Yeah. We're currently beta testing our TCU update, which will be a free update for anyone who owns our TCU tunes.
Yep.
But beta feedback is very good. So we should be moving to release that soon.
Yep.
Lots more exciting stuff coming for B9. We are working on finalizing our big injector option for E85 type applications. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, a lot of development going on for B9 currently. Good afternoon. Is it possible that bad motor and/or transmission mounts? Okay, sorry about that. Is it possible that bad motor and/or transmission mounts can cause a power cut at full throttle? Also, possibly a bad battery. I need to replace my battery, and I've never had this power cut issue until recently. The reason I ask is that I'm apprehensive about running another log for fear of damaging my motor. Apparently, the logs I sent were not comprehensive enough. Is there logging I can do without fully pushing the motor that may give some insight into a possible issue that I can send you?
That's a tricky one to answer. Without being able to capture anything in a log, obviously, there's not going to be a lot we're going to be able to see around it. I don't know. I mean, if your battery's bad, just fix your battery. Go from there. I could see it being a potential issue if it's like truly in really bad shape. Generally, these motors will reduce the alternator output on wide open throttle pulls, so it could be you're right at the edge of an acceptable voltage or stability range with that battery. So I would do that. Bad motor and transmission mounts. I mean, maybe if they're to the point where you're getting into like a hard contact point on each, you can start getting all kinds of false, knock readings and whatnot through those motors, through those mounts. If they're like truly like metal on metal.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah, but no, generally that's most motor mounts, when they fail, they're not failing to the point that you're metal on metal. It's gotten that bad, you definitely replace them. You should you should be hearing that. So yeah, I'm not sure as far as less comprehensive logs. Again, it's a really tough thing to capture. You can always go back to like a stock software and see where things are at there, just to do a much lower overall peak load and see if it's still an issue there. If it's still an issue there, obviously you're testing at a much lower output.
He's getting a cutout.
A fuel cut, yeah, that doesn't sound.
Again, a fuel cut isn't.
This is hard to know based on the comment. What kind of power cut? If it's just a sharp reduction or it's literally shutting down.
Yeah. All right. Someone says, "Give Kenji my best. Dude has the best customer service." So good to hear. Kenji works in our customer service departments, and he is awesome. I consistently hear great feedback from customers about him. Oh, we've answered this one many times, but real quick, Nate, what's the best dual pulley setup for daily driving?
For daily driving, for the best dual pulley setup, I would not even bother with dual pulley. I would just put our probably our 190 on the bottom, or if you want to be a little spicier, just the 207. But I'd say the 190 on the bottom alone is
for daily driving.
The most all around, just nice bump in power, not really pushing your intercoolers, your cats that much. So that's where I like to land for just a daily driver.
Yeah. Does the TCU tune give you more power on your Mk8 GTI file? I have your stage 1, wanting to see benefits of upgrading.
Yes, TCU tune will give you a higher torque peak. The overall power output, horsepower-wise, is nearly identical because you're not hitting that same torque peak at the maximum horsepower output. So those are two different power figures that are going to be affected most. So you'll make more torque for sure.
Someone's asking about full torque Mk8 GTI files for locked TCU cars. Is that something?
It's on our radar. We generally avoid those files when we can, and we're at this point where they'll, with our other platforms, it's something that the market is asking for, and we'll do it in a way that is as controlled and performance oriented as possible.
What are the concerns around doing this?
Normally is that
for anyone that's wondering.
For concerns, we avoid doing this generally as long as possible. It removes a control strategy from the TCU. It's a control strategy that is rarely used. It's the clutch protection, torque management, or torque reduction. So it's only in the event that there's a clutch protection intervention coming back specifically from the transmission, and that you generally have to treat in a very different way if you're doing a full torque file that's going to be bypassing that. So there's a number of ways you can do it. Some are good, some are less good. So that's the catch, though, is you do have to alter or ignore a communication coming back from the TCU to do that.
That's a good question. What are the top 3 goals for 034 in the coming year from today?
For 034 as a whole, huh?
I'm just trying to think of a way that I can talk about it that's not problematic. But I think we are a company that's growing, and so our top line desire is to continue to grow the company, which means selling more products to more customers, entering more product spaces. There is a lot of controversy around 034 right now, and a lot of people blame it on all different kinds of reasons, right? But when you go from being one size to another in an industry that's relatively small and of a fixed size or potential, then you just end up pissing a lot of people off as you take more and more opportunity from other companies that were operating in spaces that you're now operating in. So you've seen lots of attacks from our competitors, either trying to slow down our growth or trying to take some of our growth back away from us. You've seen people get mad that we're supposedly copying their products or selling the same things they are. So this is all a result of our growth. And in order to keep growing, we need to continue to maintain our inventory levels. So we cannot provide products to you all in a timely manner, in a fashion that you would like, without having a sizable inventory on hand. I can't reveal the dollar amount of our inventory, but it's substantial. It would probably blow your mind if you knew how many dollars we had tied up in products out in our warehouses that are here at our building ready to ship. So maintaining our inventory levels and continuing to grow our inventory levels. New product releases are a critical thing that we need to continue to do this year. And so we are currently releasing hundreds of new products a year. I don't believe anyone in our industry is anywhere near that. Many of those products will piss off people, who are currently selling things that we're about to come out with. But we're here to be the best 034 we can be, and so that means releasing more new products. And I think related to new products, but a separate goal is to continue to release industry-leading calibrations, new calibrations, new innovations in tuning, new applications, pushing these platforms to new levels of not only performance but safety. Those are all, I would say the top three things that we are working hard to do well and will continue to, put as a top priority here at the company. So one of our goals isn't to piss anybody off, but lots of people will get pissed off if we do all those three things well. Sorry. Someone says, my birthday is tomorrow. Can I get a free tune for my B9 S4? Oh man. Happy birthday.
Yep.
Happiest of birthdays. I don't know who that is, but hope you have a great one.
Sadly, we ran out of the free birthday tunes, though.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We're just not in the business of giving away free stuff.
It's hard to keep the products rolling if we do that.
Yeah. Even employees who work here, when it's their birthday, don't get free tunes.
Yeah.
But they get a great
Speaking
discount.
of out-of-stock products, maybe we should bring it back.
Oh, the birthday tunes out of stock?
Yeah? And we are out of stock on those. Yeah, that's true.
I think we ran out of stock on the balls, too, recently.
Oh, no, there's always plenty of balls.
Yeah.
Anybody who needs balls,
We got you.
just place an order. In fact, I signed the last pair that went out. So.
Yeah.
Did we hear anything back from that?
No, let me follow up with them.
Yeah. I mean, it's always good to know
Where the balls went.
what happened with the balls. Does the Stage 1 flash tune reset the flash counter when you choose to go back to stock?
For a lot of the current day stuff, yes. It varies a little bit depending on exactly what platform. So knowing which platform, I can answer that question more specifically. But all of the B9 stuff does. All of the CMOS 18 and some of the other stuff does. So a large swath of them does, yes.
What's the horsepower gain on Midpipes or a catback exhaust on the 8Y RS3 with RS exhaust? So the way these cars work, and we talk about this all the time, is the factory ECU requests a certain amount of torque from the engine. And so no matter what you do to make the engine more powerful, the ECU is gatekeeping the amount of power and performance that the engine can produce. So even if you remove the exhaust completely, let's say the exhaust has 20 horsepower of restriction in it at any given boost level, the factory ECU will lower boost by about 20 horsepower to keep the torque in line with what it is requesting and wanting. So the only way to get more power on an 8Y RS3 or any Audi produced since pretty much the 90s is to reprogram the ECU while improving or increasing the airflow or efficiency of the engine or the engine's combustion. And so it stands to reason if you have a tune or calibration and you put a less restrictive exhaust on, that you could gain some amount of power based on the fact that the ECU is now programmed to produce more torque than it was stock. I don't think mid-pipes are that restrictive. We produce mid-pipes as a way to make the car louder or more audible. As an aside, that's somewhat vanity, right? Just you want to hear your car, you want other people to hear your car when you get on the throttle. But something I don't hear a lot of people talk about is when you're driving, as a driver, it's very helpful to know what engine speed the engine is operating at any given moment. So say you're going into a corner and, yes, you could look down at the tachometer, but if you're driving anywhere near the limit, that's really less than ideal to have to take your eyes off the road. Even for a split second, 100 meters could go by the time you look down and look back up. So this is something when we're on track, a lot of the reason we do Res X and louder exhaust is so that we can hear the engine, and when we're going in downshifting or when we're entering a corner, we want to know, are we at 2,500 RPM or 4,500 RPM? It's a big difference. And you can tell the load on the engine by hearing the exhaust note, especially with some experience. So that's a big benefit, but that was just a little aside. So again, any kind of exhaust modification you make on a stock 8Y RS3 or Audi is not going to produce additional power unless you pair it with a calibration, and then it's just going to be up to whatever exhaust system. But I would say for the average stage 1 car, the power gains, like a stage 1 tuned ECU, the power gains from any exhaust on the market is going to be pretty much zero. I mean, very, very minimal, maybe a few horsepower or something like that. But the companies that sell exhausts don't really tell you what the power gain will be with whatever tune, so that's something that isn't super well established. Any reliability issues with the B9 RS5? Looking to get one with 38,000 miles and go stage 2. They're really good cars. We had an issue with the rear diff, and I think it's somewhat common, which is
we've heard a
needs to
couple.
be
I
replaced.
think steering rack was the other one we ran into.
We had some steering rack.
2018 racks. Yeah,
That's a 2018 issue.
It's a 19 car, but I mean,
Okay.
the dynamic steering in general does go bad on those cars. The 18.
Yeah, so the steering and the diff, but the engine is very tough, and in general, the RS5s have essentially no engine related issues compared to the S4s.
Water pump.
Like as far as the tuning and
Yeah.
piston issue, but yeah, the water pumps on all the B9s need attention. Overall, great cars, especially right now for the money.
it's a lot of car for the money right now.
On a car, and stage 2 and stage 3 is a really nice daily driver option as well. So, but if you go stage 3, you're going to want to consider head studs if you push it real hard. So, what's the difference with burble levels on 91 versus 93 octane?
There shouldn't be any.
Yeah,
I mean, different octanes will respond a little differently audibly, particularly when you get up into like B8.5 stuff. But no, that's the same between those two.
Mm-hmm. Oh, someone's asking, where did it go? The heck?
Are you looking right through?
The merch question?
Oh yeah.
Did it just disappear?
11.
Oh, okay. Any new 0 through 4 merch plan, shirts, hats, etc.? We're always coming out with stuff, but I recently got an idea for an RS5 themed shirt after seeing a picture of our RS5 coming down the corkscrew at Laguna. And so we will have a new t-shirt dropping in the next month or so. You guys got that, right? I don't think anyone responded. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a cool, fun shirt. It's not super 034 advertisement. I think it's if you're a Volkswagen Audi car guy, kind of a cool shirt to just wear around to kind of let people know what you're into and could strike up some conversations, hopefully with some attractive people that you would like to have sex with. You never know. Every little bit helps. Are those B9 pistons on the table? Yes, they are. These are, which ones?
B8.
These are B8. Okay, they're not B9, they're B8 pistons, which are very, very similar. So these are our, we already released the B9 pistons. They're on the website. We have a build package. But these are for the B8 S4. Do we have the specs on these? It says on the box. Sort of. It's compression height and stuff like that. I think they're lower compression.
Yes. Yep.
It would be good to know the specs. I don't have the
we
specs
don't have
off
the
the top of
sheet
my
in
head.
front of us right now.
I 90% sure, but I don't want to say the wrong thing. So yes, but these are for the
9.5.
the factory block. These are 9.5 to 1. Factory compression is
10.3.
10.3 to 1. So these give you a little more headroom for increasing timing, which is really at the higher boost levels where you're going to make more power anyways with the timing, not the compression. We will be releasing these soon and posting more information. Okay. I have a 2018 S5 3.0T. I'd like to get a TTE810. Is there any chance you have a file that can run the stock injectors like the 710 on 93 only while I wait for your new injectors? We don't currently have a production file of that, but it is something we want to release.
Yep.
The stock injectors really do limit that.
Yeah, it's not really a combo we have a lot of requests for on the bigger output stuff.
Yeah, but there is a good well-fueled tune at lower power, detuned level with those injectors. We just don't have anything right now. I'm sorry. We don't have a. It's not like coming out.
I don't have an ETA right now.
But we do run the RS5 injectors with that, and we do have a tune coming not too far off. In fact, our big injector tune will be out much sooner than our stock injector file. Mm-hmm. So I would just say wait for that for the time being, if you're willing. Does a TCU tune give you more? Well, already answered that one. What are your biggest recommendations for a full kill track car suspension wise?
That is a deep.
That's a really broad question.
Depends on the budget.
Budget, what car is going to vary wildly depending on what chassis we're talking about here.
Yeah, and it really depends what you want to do and how much money you want to spend, how much you want to put into it. I think we answered number one too, right? In general, I would say if you took, say a B9 S4 or a TTRS or RS3 or a Mark 7 or a Mark 8 GTI, if you just throw our suspension catalog at the car, you'll have a very fun, potent track car.
It turns into a really solid HPDE car.
Yeah, HPDE that can keep up with, your driver's skill is going to basically be the limit, and then pair it with the stickiest tire you'd like, and that's where you're going to really get a lot of your grip. And then run camber as well. Use our camber products to get 2 to 3 degrees of camber in the front. You can do even more in the rear with many of our products. And it's a very fun, potent track setup. Combine that with some braking upgrades and like our Stage 1 flash, and you're going to have a blast on track with any of these cars. So, yeah, that's a good place to be.
But yeah, full kill track stuff, that's a whole other world of custom and one-off stuff for this platform, for these platforms.
And you're talking about substantial braking upgrades,
aero braking,
body, making the body wider so that you can get more tire, aerodynamic modifications, differentials. It's really, you can't just throw the best suspension at the car and not touch those other areas either.
And then at that point, suspension has to be matched to, like, again, downforce. What tires are you running? That will alter your spring rates. What, the level of testing and refinement needed for like a true fully optimized setup is almost, it is limitless. You'll keep tweaking.
Yeah, but I think the initial advice I gave you would be a great place to start.
Excellent place to start.
Someone's asking about the EPA crack or fine on COBB. Yes, I mean the EPA has taken. They have actually had a program that's accelerated or increased the amount of oversight and compliance in the automotive aftermarket. Initially caused by ridiculous diesel tuners doing rolling coal and removing DPFs and stuff like that. So that's nothing new, and it's not surprising to hear that COBB had to do some kind of settlement with the EPA. I think it's just a matter of time for every company to get a visit. We work really hard on being compliant. You even hear us on here talking about certain tunes being used for only racing. We're very clear about that on our website. Even if you buy one of those products on our website, we email you and make sure you understand that it is only for racing, and we don't try to hide that fact, from our customers because the law is pretty clear with the EPA. And then we also have CARB to deal with. But EPA has accelerated enforcement actions for this industry. And they continue to. So many companies have had compliance actions from the EPA. It's tough walking that line because the customers in the market want a certain thing and they don't care about the EPA. We have to be very careful because, as you've probably read, it's very expensive and damaging to get in trouble with the EPA. And we also actually do care about clean air. Like we don't want to pollute, and we're very careful to not create products that create large amounts of pollution. We don't sell or condone test pipes and things like that. Unless it's for racing, specifically for racing.
Even though we have all of our cats and things, it's not.
Yeah, but if we were racing a car, we would remove the cat for sure. So, anyways, yeah, it's a constant concern. The good thing about it is it has created a situation where tuning companies like us have had to innovate around the liability and the restrictions. Cars have never been faster. Tunes have never been more powerful, and cars have never been cleaner. So it's, I remember 15 years ago people proclaiming this is the death of tuning. No one's going to be able to make any power with all these environmental restrictions, and it's just simply not true. I mean, you have Dodge and Corvette releasing factory cars with 800 horsepower that meet the strictest environmental standards. Yep. The minimum. They're not like PZEB or anything, but so it hasn't necessarily been a bad thing. It's resulted in a lot of innovation. The easiest way to make power isn't necessarily the best or most precise, and so it's forced all of us to become much better about how we do this. But it is a looming liability for anyone in this industry. And like I said, we put great consideration into meeting EPA and CARB requirements, including having CARB exempt tunes that we've released and continue to work on. I have your brake rotors for the B9 RS5 that I haven't installed yet. I'm trying to figure out which pads to use. Do you have a recommendation for light canyon driving? If you're driving on the roads and they're not like downhill, you can pretty much use anything. We have a whole line of brake pads coming out for the B9 cars, like the RS5 and the S4. So stay tuned for that. They're probably going to release in the next few months. But I think like Hawk HPSs for like that kind of street setup are good. They're not track pads, but they're definitely better. I would stay away from anything like that's a ceramic. Use like a semi-metallic pad that's designed for like, you know, aggressive street driving. So
They're going to be dusty.
Yes.
They might make noise.
they're going to be noisier and dustier. Off the top of my head, though, I'm most familiar with Hawk compounds. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but Pagid
there's
makes
a lot
great
of stuff
stuff.
out there.
There used to be a Pagid blue, not the RS14, but it was like World Pack or IMC used to sell them.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
That was a really nice street pad. It was a light blue color by Pagid. But, you know, Porterfield makes good pads. There's lots of stuff out there.
Unfortunately, no Pagid for B9 yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other issue. But I think Hawk has stuff, right?
Hawk does. Stop Tech, maybe. There's a bunch of options.
I don't know anything about Stop Tech pads, yeah. On B9 S4, other than a tune, in your opinion, what is the most satisfying mod that you guys sell for this platform? So I had the pleasure of driving our B9 S4 from the time it was new, and I tested and evaluated every new product that we came out with. And we have a lot of good ones, but I would say our sway bars are probably the number one thing, just to make the car handle better and handle flatter and just feel more precise and responsive from the factory. Anything other than, you know, tunes and calibrations and stuff.
Other than tunes calibrations, I think it usually comes down to like the sway bars and springs are kind of the next big like real transformative thing that I like to, you know, feel on these platforms. So yeah, that's going to be the biggest, especially bang for the buck. Like the amount of tactile feedback you're going to get and change with the sway bars and springs is pretty huge.
Mm-hmm. So we recently sent some 034 balls to a customer who responded, "I just flashed stage 1 this weekend on my A7, and oh my god, it's a monster now. I love you guys. Can't wait for my data log analysis email. Gonna run the Texas Mile, Beeville, October 11th for 034 Pride."
Nice.
Very cool. The question is, are you going to run the balls through the mile?
Those might be.
They probably won't.
They probably might be.
Probably
They probably will. Yeah, those
won't
those
pass
be
tech.
pretty lethal at speed. Yeah, you got
One pass tech, and they'll definitely free themselves.
Yeah.
At some point, probably in a quarter mile.
Only,
The problem is the
only
balls
meaning
just,
to that term.
the balls just aren't very aerodynamic. They catch a lot of wind, and
Yep.
I think a column of air will pick the balls up and rip them off the back of the car. How substantial is the Stage 2 TCU tune when running the basic Stage 1 ECU and TCU combo on B9?
Very substantial. The Stage 1 TCU, as we've stated before, is simply moving the torque caps up to cooperate with all of the tuned softwares. There's no other functional changes within the actual mapping. That's why it's a free and included upgrade. The Stage 2 goes through the whole thing and is going to get you a much more performant transmission experience as far as shift speeds, shift points. The RPM shift points are going to change. Launch control stuff is much more, performance oriented. So it's a complete, top to bottom remapping for those. So it's a very big change from 1 to 2 on those.
Yes. Regarding pads, does 034 recommend EBC? I don't think we recommend them. I haven't used them recently. I did have some experiences with them probably like 15 years ago, and I wouldn't have recommended them then. They've obviously stuck around, and I do know a lot of people who like them and use them. So I don't know enough to say. I have a bias away from them, but don't take my word for it. I don't know.
Somebody's also asked me about on the pads thing, more comfort oriented for B9 S5. If you want comfort, you're going to want to stick with the stock stuff.
Stock stuff or like a ceramic.
Yeah, it's going to be the least dusty, the most comfort, and everyday livable design out there.
I'm not sure. I think some of the ceramic stuff could be better than stock. I just don't know what the stock pads are, what compound they are. But the ceramic stuff is very low dust, very quiet. They're not the highest performance and they're lower temp. But for comfortable street driving, that's clean, a good ceramic option. And we're looking at bringing a ceramic option to market in the future. But I think right now the Akabono stuff's pretty popular. A lot of people run that and say that it's quiet and low dust and all those things. Someone's asking if our rotors are sourced from China. So this may sound like a cop-out answer, but it's the same answer we've been giving since I started the company. Is we don't disclose or discuss where our products are sourced from. What we do commit to all of our customers is that all of our products meet 034 product quality standards that are dictated by us, not the country where it's made. There's nothing wrong with things made in China. There's actually really bad quality stuff made in the USA. Some stuff simply cannot be manufactured in the USA because nobody does it. But we utilize a global supply chain network to source and produce products for us. Many are made in the US. Many are made in Europe. We do have stuff made in China, in Taiwan, Japan, Korea, South Korea. Yeah,
Not north.
we tried to have some stuff in
Very
North Korea, but
very
apparently
little
it's
coming out
illegal.
of there, yeah.
The government said we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean we have products made all over. If we tried to limit ourselves to like only made in the USA, we would not be the company you see. It's impossible to, we offer like 1,200 plus different products, and as many of them as we can make in the US, we do. We have many products. About half of our products are made in the USA.
Yeah, somebody's also replying. You guys realize the companies Garrett, Borg Warner, Continental, etc. all have plants in China. Just because it's made there doesn't mean anything. Exactly, that's the whole point. Is it's all about the QC, the actual manufacturing process, like the country of origin.
Yeah, but they actually have plants literally almost in every country. If you go read up, I did this once to prove a point. But if you go on Garrett Honeywell's website, you can find they have a page about they used to anyways about their global sourcing network and like all the countries where they source from. I mean, there's like 50 or 60 different countries that they source from, including China, including US, including Europe and Vietnam and all kinds of places. So it's a pretty silly idea to think that the country that something is made in dictates how good of a quality it is. There is a lot of bad stuff made in China. There's a lot of cheap crap made in China, but we don't sell cheap crap. And if we're going to work with a company or a factory in China, they have to meet our high standards or we won't be able to use them. But it's not like, well, we had to have it made in China, so I guess it's just going to be shitty. No. That's not how we operate. So our brake rotors are proven time and time again that they are a great quality brake rotor. They perform better than factory rotors that are made in Czechoslovakia or wherever, and they're great quality. They don't warp, they don't crack, they don't have issues. We've had a handful of warranty claims around things like that, but the brake rotors are very good quality. They're priced very fairly. In fact, sometimes they're much cheaper than the factory options. We run them on all of our own cars. I have them on my Q7. Yesterday I had 4 children and
Right.
my beautiful partner, and I drove us all over Northern California with those brake rotors. And I actually had to hit the brakes really hard. We were driving in mountain roads, fully loaded up Q7, you know, with shit in the back, flawless, you know. So it's a great quality product, regardless of where it's made. It meets our standards, and they're very high. Okay. Any more questions? Please let us know. Someone says, if you tell a Haas machine to have a tolerance of 1/10,000th, it doesn't care if the machine is in one place or the other. Yeah. That's right. And there is a particular machinist that I've been working with machinists for about 30 years. And there's a particular machinist that we work with in China, and he's the best machinist I've ever worked with.
Hands down.
Hands down by far. And
both in the management of the whole shop and just the practices and the attention to detail and finish.
We marvel. When we first started working with them, we were doing all of our machining here, and we had a master machinist who was very good, a U.S.-based machinist. And I would take stuff to him, and I'm like, "Look at this," and he's like, "I don't know how he did that." You know. So yeah, it doesn't matter where you're at. It matters if you're good, and if you're good, you can work with us. We don't really care what country you're in. We would love to do everything here in the U.S., but nobody does.
And we make efforts to obviously distribute where things are sourced and whatnot. But just because it's made in the U.S. does not mean anything. It's all about the company and the people making it and what their tolerances.
Remember that one time we were making our B8 X-Brace.
The X-Brace is exactly where I was going to go with that.
And so we were like, they're just too big. They're too much work. We need help because we were just running behind in our machining department. We couldn't keep up with the demand of our own products. And so me and Nate and I think Gary, we went on this like multi-month mission to find a machine shop in the U.S.
In the U.S. because there's such a big thing. We wanted to keep it, local, North America even. It wasn't just U.S. necessarily, but shipping and all that. We were trying to avoid that.
And so we spent weeks calling, emailing, contacting. Most of the machine shops in the U.S. just won't even respond to you because they're doing aerospace stuff and they're like
medical stuff, aerospace
like
stuff,
motorsport. Yeah, no, that's just gonna be a waste.
Yeah, around here it's all med lab or the tech stuff. They're always machining up prototypes or whatever for them.
So there was one company in like Washington State, Pacific Northwest, that supposedly did aerospace, and they finally responded and they're like, we can do it, blah blah blah. So we sent them all the CAD files and all of the data and give them a request for quote and an initial purchase order, and all they had to do was send us a good sample first article so we could approve it.
And on the scope of things, like the cross brace is like one of the least tolerance tight pieces we have. It is a big huge part. The bolt, the only tight pieces are the adapter fittings we have on them, but it's not any kind of bizarre.
It's a pretty easy thing to make if you're running a CNC machine. It's not complicated at all. And the first article we got back was like half machined. There was like entire features.
Raw stock. There were features missing. Yeah. There was just rough edges everywhere. It was. I don't even know how. It left the shop in that state.
And at some point, they ended up delivering the whole production run after multiple back and forths trying to correct the issues. Even the production run was all fucked up.
Yep.
And I ended up sending them a letter saying, "Thanks for trying, but we can't pay for this. It's on our dock if you'd like it." And never heard back from the shop, the company, and we ended up just sending all of it, scrap it to the aluminum recycler. So they're now made somewhere else by someone else who does a great job making them. But we've had many experiences like that of trying to make things like this in the U.S.
We still get a lot made in the U.S. when we can. So
like I said, about half.
It depends what.
Half of our sales are from U.S. based products. Someone says, "I appreciate the in-depth explanation on sourcing of parts internationally." You bet. Sometimes I'm hesitant to say too much because people use things that we say against us all the time. But I think the benefit of this is what we always say: no BS, being transparent. It's really the 034 way, and hopefully that's nice. Hopefully you appreciate it, and it sounds like at least one person did. So thank you. This we've gone over this before. Someone says, Nate, has the engineering team been able to use AI for any data collection or analysis in any appreciable way? Is this coming?
It is something I want to do more of. I have not done a lot of post-processing analysis yet. It is used a lot on the software development side, in a much more conventional way, I'd say, as far as the actual coding and whatnot. But no, it's not being used currently on the post-processing. I do want to bring that in to the support envelope at some point, but no, not yet.
Someone says, are you guys in need of a mechanic at the moment? Yes, we are always hiring mechanics for our ZTF automotive service centers.
Yeah, so we have 2 centers right now, one here in Fremont, one in San Jose.
Yeah, so if you're interested, go to our website, scroll down to the bottom and click careers, and you can apply for the open position there. That's the best way to get started, and then we will certainly reach out to you. But yes, mechanics are in high demand, and 0 through 4 ZTF is a great place to work if you're a mechanic. We work hard to make it a good place to work. Putting together an AWM 2-liter stroker for a B5, who carries 20 millimeter beam rods these days for a 180, looking to upgrade from IE Tuscan rods? Well, we carry scat rods, but I don't think they're that much. I wouldn't say they're. I'd say they're equivalent to the IE Tuscan rods. I don't think they're an upgrade. If you're looking for something better, I would look to like a Potter or a Carrillo. We used to sell. Well, we may sell Potter rods still. Yeah, we have the Potter 180 rods listed. That's a very, very good rod. That rod is forged and machined in the USA. You pay for it, but we still talk to Brian Crowder or Brian Powder, the main guy there. I think his name is Brian. I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I know purchasing talks to him. But anyways, yeah. Or the Carrillo stuff, which I think Carrillo is now owned by JE, but that's a good rod. It's an H-beam. It's kind of like what the IE and scat rods.
Yes, brand powder.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. IE and scat rods are kind of Chinese versions of the Carrillo stuff. IE and scat.
Yeah.
Are Chinese. Okay, yeah. Sometimes I get confused on things I said. What's the reasoning behind building Nate's engine? Did the stock engine blow up? Why a built engine and why 9.5 compression?
No, motor hasn't blown up. It's the same motor that's been there and running since Laguna. It's a junkyard special motor, you could say, with lots of miles on it. It's still running fine. It's been smoky since day one, so that's kind of one of my drives is to get that thing out of there. And also, I want to get a built motor in just as a calibration effort.
Yeah.
And to have that.
Well, people do want to build motors. People are building motors, and so we can test the calibration, any differences or changes or optimizations we can make. Lowering the compression is a good idea. So the factory set compression at 10.3 to 1 based on factory boost levels, which are very low compared to what we're seeing now, like half as much. So, if you were going to design and build a motor from scratch, you wouldn't start with 10.3 to 1 compression for a motor.
For a high boost, high. Yeah.
Again, now, if we were coming out with JE pistons for a stock motor, we'd probably maybe do even higher than 10.3 to 1, like maybe 10.5 or 10.8 to 1 or something. But considering we're running so much more boost, it makes sense to lower the compression a little bit and add some of the timing back, which is actually going to make more power. It's more functional compression by advancing the timing and lowering the static combustion ratio. So that's why we're doing it. And more compression is not always better. More compression, more timing. There's limits to
in a perfect world with all the octane and whatnot. Yes, a nice higher compression motor is great.
There's no such thing.
But there's no such thing as that. It's always a compromise on one end or the other. Yeah, in this case, to run a all-around street gas, friendly motor with a strong build and a bunch of boost, then yeah, lowering the compression is a good way to go.
Yeah, I mean, if there was no such thing as detonation, then God knows
Keep
how much
going, yeah.
compression you could run.
Get
100 to 1.
Get to the mechanical limits of or structural limits of the material.
But yeah, given the fact that there's detonation, you do have to balance the compression ratio. And I think there is this idea out there that higher is always better, and it's just not. It's the same thing with pulley ratios. Higher isn't always better.
Yep.
The right amount is always the best amount. Is Stage 1 plus E85 safe to run on a Mk8 R? Yeah.
Been rock solid.
Very, very safe. Very fun.
Yep.
Highly recommended. What's the difference between the acceleration package versus Stage 1 ECU and Stage 1 TCU?
The tune, there's no difference in any of our tune offerings. So like a Stage 1 tune is going to be a Stage 1 tune.
It's just a bundle. It's a package.
The only time there's any kind of difference is on some of the COBB applications. Those are their own version of the Stage 1 file, but it's still the same performance numbers.
Yeah, and for most of the Excel packs, which are curated bundles of product that we put together, we typically include Stage 2 TCU tunes with Stage 1 tunes.
Stage 1 ECU tunes.
Yeah, sorry. If you'd like to just stick with Stage 1 TCU with your Stage 1 tune, then you can put that together yourself. But yeah, think of it as like a chef's tasting menu. That's what our bundles or packages are. I'm getting a high-pitched whirling sound coming from the trans at low speeds after installing dog bone transmount on a B8 S4.
Well, there's no dog bone transmount, so
it looks like a dog bone.
I guess. Oh, you're right. I guess visually in that respect,
funny.
yes. I see what you're saying. Yeah, there shouldn't be. It should still be rubber isolated. Make sure you didn't get something pinched in there, that you're getting a hard contact point.
Something's wrong with the installation. So you're basically have created an accidental short circuit acoustically between the transmission and the body of the car. And so transmissions are very noisy. They make horrible whining sounds. We've been very sheltered as humans from the sounds of transmissions. And when you're in a race car with a solid mounted drivetrain, you really hear how loud this stuff is. I mean, you literally need hearing protection. So something is touching that shouldn't be. So you can email our tech support or get in there, take everything out, but make sure there's no metal on metal contact of any kind, because that's what's creating that. Yeah,
it's a hard point interface is usually what does that. So yeah, no, there still should be rubber at all corners and all interface points on that insert.
Will you guys be doing a supercharger pulley for the CREC A6 in the near future? Yes, absolutely. We will be releasing one very soon. I'm running one on my Q7. Hang in there. It's coming soon.
We've had the lowers for obviously quite some time, but yes, there's an upper coming as well.
Yeah. Is there a negative impact to doing a muffler delete?
It gets louder.
I mean, not really. Yeah, it does let those turbo sounds out, but other than that, no. Can't think.
As long as it's a
turbo car
or muffler delete, as long as it's done with a material and diameter that is at least equivalent to the OEM stuff.
B8.5 ported blower from VastAz inbound. Any tuning difference or adjustments I would need to make?
VastAz themselves are running the same file as what is out there, so no. Those tend to work great. The ported blowers, it makes it a much more efficient path generally if it's done right. The overall BE of the motor itself and the way the air is getting into the motor isn't changed that dramatically. So the map sensor measurement that the ECU is using for that load calculation is still quite accurate and well within what it's able to tolerate.
So I see you guys released a forged piston for the EA837. Are these sold individually or for a set of 6? Yes, it's all our pistons are sold in a set.
I went and looked at the site. It isn't clear, so we might want to make that a little clearer. It doesn't say set anywhere. It just says piston, piston, piston. So no, it is a full set of 6 pistons.
Sean, write that down. Yeah, no, it's definitely. In fact, here's how they come. They come in a box like this with 6 pistons inside, for the 6-cylinder engines. So, in fact, it's very important. Make sure if you ever buy a piston that you buy them in sets. You want them machined and manufactured in tolerance together at the same time, the last thing you want is to have to hone and bore and hone a motor to 6 different pistons, you know. So these should be manufactured in machines to very precise tolerances. All these pistons are going to be dimensionally, you know, identical within any kind of tolerance that would be considered critical. Okay. Anything else we should jump on? Got 4
we have 5
minutes.
minutes left. Yeah.
Man, we've been over this one so many times, but always happy to answer. Tell me why I should buy a 034 tune instead of the other tunes. I mean, we talk a lot about our engineering, about the performance, the safety, the development. I don't know what tune you're in the market for, but for tunes like the B8, we've been out on the market for 8 years with the most widely run, the most developed, most refined, most advanced tune on the market. And you're going to get the most performance and safety from our tunes, and the most development and engineering time compared to either a custom tune or a tune from someone who just kind of came on the market. You can look at our BS fact check piece that we released last month, where we go in depth into our tuning strategy, our philosophy. You won't find anyone else on the market who's as open and direct and honest about our tuning as we are. When you have
and to that point too, we offer the most like data that you can look at for yourself and see how everything is working with our free data collection tools, logging tools. We do log checks for people all the time if they've got any questions or just want to see that everything's working correctly. We provide all that for free as part of the tuning process. So there's a lot of side benefits that come along with it as well.
So we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Like Nate said, we have full tuning support with logging. We have arguably the best mobile app on the market that allows you to look at real-time variables, to have them running in your car while you're driving, to do logs conveniently, all flashing through your phone through Bluetooth.
Full diagnostic suite. You can check,
diagnostics.
Any codes. We can also run a number of adaptation or routines as well. So.
And you've got the 2 guys in charge here at the company going live every week that will answer your questions and concerns, be it as it may. So I would add the other side of that is there's a lot of false information out there. There's a lot of other tuners that are trying to discredit us, to kind of pick up the scraps from our table, where they, instead of showing how good their tunes are, try to mischaracterize our tunes as being bad. Just be really cautious about that. If you have any questions about anything you've heard, feel free to ask it here or email us.
That's a line we obviously thread too, is anytime we talk about the way we do it versus how anybody else does it, it's construed as an attack or something, but it's in response to usually
it's all
mischaracterization
always
coming
in
the other way. We're not going out looking for trouble.
Yep. So let us know if you have any questions. We'd love to help.
Yep.
034 Motorsports Stage 2 on 8J TTRS. Does it require a high pressure fuel pump?
No, only the 2+ will require that, and it'll be listed in all of the recommended and required mods for all of our stage softwares out there
on the product page.
On the product page, yeah. And when you go to Flash, we try and list all those out as well.
Best upgrades to go OEM Plus on a 2015 S3 daily driver. Yeah, definitely recommend our springs and sway bars and inserts, as far as suspension mods go.
Yep.
And then a stage 1 tune with an intake
Yep.
is really nice. And then you can do an intercooler upgrade.
Yeah, I mean,
furthermore,
for the platform, you can do a full carb stage 1 tune. You won't have to touch anything.
Yeah.
Intake, tune, all of it. Yeah.
But that's now going to get you much closer to RS3 kind of performance, and power, or OEM Plus.
Yeah.
Very reliable, smoggable, all that stuff.
Cool. All right, guys.
Yeah,
think
thanks for
we're-
joining us this week. We appreciate all the questions as always. We didn't get to everything, but feel free to join us next week if you'd like to ask your question.
Yeah,
All right.
we didn't get you.
Thanks. Cheers.